차부터는 이제 더 연습을 해가고 얼마나 상대 팀의 뭐 성향이라던가 그런 걸 파악하고
我们只要好好检讨为什么没有结束掉比赛的原因，我们接下来比赛就都可以赢。
Flash Wolves, 41 minutes in, never giving up, and it's gonna be against SKT in the group.
좋은 성적 최대한 내서 후회 없는 게임만 하고 싶어요.
Baker looking for the all-in. Jensen does get the stun, but Wolf is here to complete it.
3盘都要赢了，才能小手出线。
Voidless looking for a massive flank here on the other side. Steals it away as a Voidless! Absolutely massive play.
And Cloud9, they don't give up, they don't surrender, and they take down Flash Wolves!
We have to win 2 games to make it to quarters. Could just go 3-0. There's a lot of options.
Wolf actually going in, but Sneaky's low. Teleport's coming in for SKT and Spang with a double from the Ezreal. This is gonna be a kill for Impact. Looking for number 2. The 2v1 against the Dragon. Steals it away as a Voidless. Absolutely massive. Flash Wolves never giving up. Looking to put themselves on the boards, and it's gonna be against SKT.
Welcome to the final day of group stage competition here in San Francisco. Today we determine our final 2 quarterfinalists and complete the tournament bracket for Chicago. Now San Francisco has played a fantastic host over the past 2 weeks, and I'm sure that today will be no different as we lock in our final 2 teams that will head to Chicago to battle it out in the knockout rounds. Now here's a look at Cloud9 getting in some last-minute practice. The hopes of North America rest with them. IMA will be in action for Game 1. They're hoping to be the 3rd Chinese team to secure the quarterfinals. They'll face Flash Wolves in Game 1 today. Stake here, seen coaching up his team in competition in Group B is tough, though, because we're including 2-time and defending world champions, SKT. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, joined for our final day of groups by Clement Chu, Jake Spawn Tiberi, and Alberto Crumbs Rangifo. And gentlemen, what a phenomenal 2 weeks it has been in this beautiful city.
Yeah, this has actually been an amazing group stage, and you can tell the home crowd teams are really out in force every single day. The crowd in this venue has honestly just been amazing. The noise that they can pump out has been great, especially when you have teams like TSM and Cloud9 taking a Summoner's Rift.
That's very true, and with Cloud9 playing today, I'm sure it'll be plenty loud for them when they take to the stage. But before we do anything, let's get a refresher on the tournament standings so far. Quarterfinalists from Group A are Rocks Tigers and Albus Nox Luna. From Group C, we've got H2K and Edward Gaming. Group D's winners are Samsung Galaxy and RNG, and Group B plays today. That group is currently led by SKT and Cloud9. Now with that, we're almost ready to fill out the bracket for the tournament. So tonight, following the completion of our final match, stay tuned for the quarterfinal draw, where we'll be joined by guest Wild Turtle to randomly select the matchups between our 1st and 2nd seeded group stage winners. Now let's start with a quick recap of the action we saw out of Group D last night, where Samsung Galaxy, man, they took the 1st seed after sweeping their games.
Really looking at the trends this tournament, we have 2 teams going 3-0 in their groups who weren't necessarily favorites in H2K and Samsung Galaxy. What's so fun about this group stage is that anything can happen. With extensive preparation and showing up the day, you can win it. And with Group B, our last group, we haven't seen them play since last Sunday, so I expect some very tailored strategies going up against each other.
Yeah, and you know, when you have a look at this Samsung Galaxy lineup, globally they weren't really respected with the likes of Ross and SK Telecom. They had only beaten Rocks Tigers once in the regular season, never beaten SKT, never beaten KT until the gauntlet run, and they've shown in this group stage that they're not a good Korean team, they are an elite Korean team and can really look to take it deep into this tournament.
And of course, on the opposite side of that story is TSM, a team that was favored to make it out of groups only to fall short just yesterday.
And even in week 1, they looked shaky with the exception of their crushing victory against Samsung, but in week 2, we just saw a bit of a collapse from them, and they were very disappointed to see. And then as a result of that, we're sitting here with the Alamo spearheaded by Cloud9 once again.
Yeah, we'll see whether they can make it out. Another team that was pretty shaky yesterday, honestly, was that RNG lineup. They make it out, but it is definitely not all smiles because they had 2 very poor performances. And now with 2 Chinese LPL teams sitting in that second seed, anything can happen as we move on to Chicago.
Right, but they did win that one game that they needed. Now, every day this week has been filled with action-packed games as teams from around the world have exceeded expectations. And today will likely continue that trend as all of these teams are within one win of each other.
And you know, despite more parity, Korea is still #1. It's sad, but it's true. They're gonna come out with already 2 #1 seeds and most likely another #1 seed. That's all Korean teams making it to the quarters in a breeze. And it's really shocking to see them just come out and clap everybody once again. What can you say? Korea wins again.
Yeah, once again, I mean, the Korean teams are still great, and FLICKR is still absolutely amazing in this tournament. One-on-one, this guy is the undisputed king. He's able to take it to anyone. You need to get a second person in his lane. Hell, you need to get a third person in his lane most of the time, and he's still able to take over.
Yeah, well, you didn't put him in #1 in your top 20 spot, so he's out to get revenge on you.
And talking about FLICKR, I actually think this might be a weakness. I expect teams to camp him a lot. His stats declined this season because he was too eager to carry and he got punished for it. So what FLICKR needs to do is keep his cool and play the game out.
All right, well now SKT's Achilles heel in international play has, unfortunately for them, found their way into Group B. Flash Wolves handed SKT their only defeat in Week 1.
Flash Wolves is definitely the Korean kryptonite. They're 5-0 in international competition against Korean teams and 3-0 specifically against this SKT roster. If you have to talk about strengths, it's their early game where they get a 2.3 gold lead pre-15 minutes. Karsla is also averaging 4 kills a game in that same time period. They lead the games by 79% of the time, but it's the last 21% that they have trouble dealing with. They cannot close games. We all remember that ugly 3 inhibitor loss against C9. If this team is going to make it out of groups, they have to be able to pull the trigger.
As well as the comeback win from IMA. So Cloud9, though, they had a good showing last week. They're tied for first in the group and are poised to move on if they continue to pick up some wins today.
And Cloud9 lives and dies by Jensen. If he can body somebody, they go off. And that's just so dependent onto the mid lane matchup right now. If he's able to have pressure, similarly to Bjergsen on TSM, if you have that pushing mid laner and you can roam with your jungler, if your support can assist you and you can make plays around the map, Jensen can go off and can really shine as that mechanical player that we always see.
And Cloud9's job should be easier because they have impact in the top lane. They should be able to play around Jensen because this guy gets no jungle proximity himself, lowest out of top laners. He gets camped one of the highest at the tournaments, and he still has a plus 16 CS differential at 15 minutes. Impact, you didn't make my top 20. Let's keep bringing it up. He certainly deserves to be there because this guy is a monster at the moment.
Absolutely. But of course, we also got to talk about Smoothie, the young gun here for C9.
Yeah, talking about the lack of jungle pressure, I think this is the person that needs to step up the most. He had a really good game against IM with 4 early assists on that roaming Alistar. If I'm C9, I'm looking to free him for his lane and take over the pressure around the map.
All right, well, that brings us to the dark horse in this group, which is the Chinese 3rd seed, IMA. Coming into their first game today against Flash Wolves, they will be starting Athena at support in place of Road, who is serving a 1-game suspension following a competitive ruling handed down earlier this week.
And you know, IMA probably the only team performing to expectations in this group because their early game has been abysmal. You can see it on your screen there. They're down 3,000 gold at 15 minutes. They've got the worst KD. Honestly, if this team can't take you late game, they just can't win because they cannot get it together. One advantage I think that they do have, however, is the fact that they do use their substitute mid lanes quite well. If one of them has a poor game, they can bring the second one in. Of course, that is hampered a little bit by the fact they both have to play game 1. But IMA, not to be underestimated, but certainly look to be outclassed in this group.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, let's take a look at the schedule of matches coming your way today. We start the day with IMA going head-to-head against Flash Wolves. Group B teams will complete all of their remaining matches today. And at the end of our 6 scheduled matches, any ties will be immediately decided in best of ones as needed. As always, don't forget to check in on the Riot Games 2-player experience stream for a gameplay-focused look at Worlds 2016. Our team of casters is joined today by special guests Pobelter and Zig. They'll be spending the day bringing some micro-focused discussion revolving around the solo lanes. They'll also pull a vision toggle for 2 midday matches and follow the action from a single team's perspective to facilitate macro-level strategy discussions. Now, as we go to the casters, the Flash Wolves saw a silver lining in their challenging first week of groups.
其实我们前面的比赛就算输了，但我们前面都还是有拿到优势的，所以我觉得我们只要好好检讨为什么没有结束掉比赛的原因，我们接下来比赛就都可以赢。
And I definitely agree. Flash Wolves could absolutely surprise and win a bunch of games here today. And it's time to get ourselves into those matches. I am David Freak-Turley, here with Mitch Krepp of Horseballs and Sam Kobe Hartman-Kensler, who winked at me. I appreciate that. I feel much more comfortable now.
Now people think we have secrets.
Yeah. Yes, we are hiding things from everyone else here. So we're going to be jumping in to our first game, which is IMEI taking on Flash Wolves. Let's start with the starting lineups for these two squads. IMEI from the Chinese LPL is Amazing J in the top lane, Avoidless in the jungle, Baimi in mid, Jin Zhao at AD carry, and Athena, who's normally a mid laner, substituting in this game on support with their coach, Kesman.
Definitely going to be interesting to see how this pans out. They are going to be playing the Flash Wolves on the red side. Up top is MMD. In the jungle, Karsa, mid, Maple, AD carry, NL, support Sword Art, and Coach Fluid Wind on stage with them.
And honestly, if we get a repeat from game 1 and Flash Wolves actually have improved their closing ability, this should be, honestly, a sweep. Flash Wolves looked a little bit washy coming into the tournament. You know, expectations weren't all that high, but they have been leading such a large amount of time in most of their games, but they just can't put the final nail in the coffin.
That has been the question for them, right? You know, how can they execute towards the late game? And I have to say, it's a really good thing that Maple did mention their early game, because Karsa is my player to watch for this team. Yeah. I absolutely love this jungler. I actually feel like he's the best performing jungler in the entire tournament so far. He has not died pre-15 minutes. 86% kill participation. He has amazing stats, and he's been the one really facilitating the huge early leads that the team does get.
Exactly. He practically solo carried the Flash Wolves win over the Koreans of SK Telecom T1, the defending champion. So there's absolutely a lot of power here on these players, but IMEI starting it out with their first ban not against an early game jungler like Karsa's Lee Sin or at least Nidalee. It's the Nidalee blue side ban actually with the Skarner alongside it.
Yeah. There are some power picks that you wanted to first pick that are not Nidalee. Usually you would wait with like a third ban Nidalee on blue side. It reveals the cards very early. It does tell Flash Wolves that Syndra ban should be definitely considered, because that's a super strong tier 1 pick.
Yeah, the mid lane champion pool has been extremely important, but IMEI really focusing heavily on Karsa as well. They also recognize that he has been the biggest playmaker for the team. Even if you're going to focus the jungler, I don't know about that Skarner ban. Like, first ban Skarner against Karsa to me seems so weird, since he's so good at the early game junglers like Lee Sin and Lee Sin Rek'Sai.
And Flash Wolves must be happy right now getting the Syndra ban kind of gifted over, a champion that's almost never banned on the blue side.
Also, the last ban here, Ryze, targeted at Baimi. That was what, you know, they subbed in Baimi purely for the Ryze, practicing it so much in solo queue. And with both mid laners in the game now, very curious as to what the supports will be as they mouse over the Zyra.
And the last ban we're going to talk about before we move to the picks here is this Karma ban. I think it's pretty smart to ban it against a team that has a mid laner in support, because these guys, they're not as familiar with the normal laning patterns and trading patterns. They won't be able to play Nami very well, but anybody can play AFK shove Karma, especially when you've played it in the mid lane.
Exactly. That's why we mentioned the things like the Karma that can get off, or like the Zyra as well, that can get off a lot of damage. I feel like if we're looking for the mistakes from Athena coming in as a substitute for support, one of the most common ones for people who don't main the role is being overly aggressive and feeling like they have a lot more power than they do early on in the game.
But it's going to be the Alistar. We'll see if it gets punished really at all. Of course, we saw the rush pick on the Lee Sin there. Avoidless going to be putting pressure on himself to be the early pressure jungler. Of course, Karsa still gets Elise, who is one of those highly sought after junglers as well. Interestingly, statistically, Elise is the second most sought after jungler behind only Nidalee. But as far as his matchup is concerned, Karsa's Lee Sin demanded more respect despite being less common as a champion.
Oh man, yeah. NL actually stealing away the Jhin from the first pick was something that we kind of skipped over, which was very important, because Jin Zhao, that's been his best champion. And we were actually fairly skeptical if NL has put enough time in on this champion, since he's only played it twice, but definitely confident there from Flash Wolves. And I like stealing away comfort champions from the enemy.
Yeah, in addition to that, Jhin is quite unpredictable in his damage in laning phase. That 4-shot Q coming out, I mean, Vander experienced it himself. If you're playing against a newer support player, again, that could factor into that decision making. Also, they have a combo denial tool with the Devour there, so they're set up for success in the bottom lane.
Yeah, exactly. With the Tahm Kench lock-in, not only can you deny the Alistar combo, but Jhin is so good at turning around an all-in from an Alistar. You eat them up, and then you can turn around and snare them. We've seen so many Alistars go too far, whether they either don't have their ultimate or it's still only level 1 and doesn't reduce that much damage.
I absolutely agree. I do love Tahm Kench as a defensive support, especially into more all-in type of champions. Alistar, of course, being one. Syndra, another one that we've seen countered very well by Tahm Kench's Devour. But now it's up to figure out what the rest of the champions are going to be on this lineup. IMA picking their last 2 champs. It'll be AD Carry, Sivir, and the top lane Echo.
IMA, however, are targeting the right players with their draft here. They have a pushing mid lane in any circumstance with the Aurelion Sol. They have an aggressive early game jungler that can contest even the likes of Elise in her jungle early on. And if you look at Flash Wolves, the main players that drive the spearhead in the early game is Karsa and Maple, and so IMA in that sense is set up to challenge them.
I definitely agree, and I want to focus in a little bit more on that jungler and mid laner matchup because we think it's going to be so important. We've seen a couple of teams try and do the Malzahar into the Aurelion Sol, and the thought behind it, even though it hasn't worked, does make a lot of sense, right? Malzahar just straight up ult him, the stars retract, plus Aurelion Sol almost always builds a first item health item. Malzahar can get that percentage health damage without the early magic resist always being there. So in that theory, if you do focus it with extra support, then you can try and kill the Aurelion Sol and keep him from roaming around. It just has not, the teams that have tried this haven't had success because they didn't bring the jungle pressure in addition to the Malzahar matchup.
And it's very hard to bring that jungle pressure because Aurelion Sol almost has guaranteed push early on. He just has to stand in the minion wave while Malzahar 1 to 6
watch your Raptors.
Actually is really, yeah, watch your Raptors indeed. It's really hard to push if you're Malzahar because the Malefic Visage just doesn't bounce early on. You need level 7, 8, 9, and by that point, Aurelion Sol should have already had 2 roams.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is if you've got the push lead in the mid lane, it means your jungler gets to counter jungle because you can join first, and a 1 lane lead can snowball into the jungle lead, into control, into not being able to gank that guy who's pushing almost recklessly because of the teamwork, and that's what IMA is kind of hoping on here with Elise and jungle with Aurelion Sol.
Karsa is definitely set up to make some picks here. The lane interactions with the Elise almost in every single lane is definitely possible.
I need to interrupt you because the time of swap has passed.
Yeah.
After 20 seconds, you can't swap anymore. Voidless is holding the Alistar with Smite, and... Or not with Smite, sorry, that's going to switch. But Athena's the one holding the Lee Sin here. The top lane, mid lane, and AD carrier is normal.
So... it looks like
supporting and Athena is jungling.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
Yeah.
They're putting Athena in the jungle. He switched to the Smite Lee Sin, and Alistar later on figured out he still had to pick Exhaust. So that was a close one. So it's Alistar support still after all.
Yeah, but it's just different players here.
Yeah, so, you know, they are going to have a substitute in one off role, right? And they're just moving that around. The problem for me is that you're moving that around into one of Flash Wolf's biggest strengths on the other side. And I feel like Karsa is really set up for success, especially in the early game here. We'll see how well Athena can jungle, though.
Yeah, we could see, though, if they get the early push on the Sivir Alistar lane, it could free up a Voidless, and who knows, better to roam with a jungler than a jungler himself.
Also, exactly, the other thing about, you know, a mid laner playing your jungle for you, probably going to be around mid lane a lot.
Absolutely the case. So we are now into the game. Here we go, the first of the day. The end of groups is upon us, and I may hope it's not the end of their team, Flash Wolves, either. Both these teams sitting at 1 and 2. They must pick up several wins today, and it starts with this one right here. IMA took down Flash Wolves last week, but now's the chance for revenge. The Chinese LPL up against the LMS. IMA versus Flash Wolves, and Athena gets the first bit of damage in.
And the secondary stream is Athena versus Maple, so they're gonna watch the jungler camp mid.
That's true. Athena will definitely be fighting Maple quite a bit. So, of course, we have reorganized the scoreboard at the bottom to fight the matchups. Sorry for those who look at the scoreboards on the left and right. Those don't reorient right now, so make sure you watch. Nice kill on the ward. More advantages.
Just to catch up, for everybody who tuned in right at the very beginning of the game, we had a ban on IMA, their support player, for 1 game. So they had to play their second mid laner, who's the mid lane sub. But they've done another switch so that now their mid lane sub player is making everybody out, not playing the support, playing the jungle, and their jungler is now supporting. So they actually have 2 off roles now instead of just 1 by choice. It's complicated.
Yes, but we are either way into a game of League of Legends with pretty standard champions and relatively standard lane assignments outside of where the players themselves are. And we're watching melee plus ranged here in the duo lane, and Sword Art trying to take over rush control in the bottom.
Yeah, just to touch on it one more time, you know, the coordination is one of the things that people always point to when looking at IMA and some of their weaknesses. Now that they have people on different roles, especially a bottom role, the language barrier is going to come into effect as a Voidless won't be able to quickly communicate with Jin Zhao. So you just kind of have to have that trust in your duo laner. And we may see some, you know, delayed combos or reactions.
Yeah, they're definitely playing a very passive bot lane. They didn't challenge the push at all. It's serviceable. They can definitely survive in CS. Both junglers got a leash on the left side of the map, so both teams should know that around 3 minutes, 3:15, they will be pathing to the downside of the map here. We saw a little bit different starts. Gromp start for the Lee Sin, and we saw the fast red into the side switch here from Karsa's Elise. Probably going to get an early Scuttle Crab.
Definitely would prioritize that. Meanwhile, Athena is doing a hard clear on Lee Sin. Looks like he's just going to go for the Scuttle Crab right after. Elise does get the blue.
They saw Tahm Kench disappear for a while, so they
Yeah.
must know that his red buff is warded. So this is a good switch up here. Karsa's kind of one camp ahead, though.
He's going to look for Athena, going to stun the Scuttle Crab, not the Lee Sin, and will still get control over this bottom Scuttle, and that helps give his bottom lane some vision.
Yeah, well, so they actually both did 3 camps. It's just
one
that
buff end, yeah.
Karsa went for the double buff, which takes a little bit less time, and he is able to get there, steal away the crab. Good respect there from Athena, though. You don't want to fight that early, especially if you're unable to dodge the cocoon.
And we got to see where the junglers path in from now, because yes, there's plenty of vision here for the red team for Flash Wolves in this bottom river, and they tracked Lee Sin not long ago. Of course, Karsa was also spotted going to the side of the map. Athena now staying on this bottom side, grabbing his red buff, which you can kind of predict as Elise goes top side.
Yeah, we saw Baimi immediately lean to the left side there to put a ward over the wall. He knows Elise will be returning to the left side of the map for the Raptors, so he definitely wants to dodge that gank and keep pushing in. Maple is doing a good job staying even on CS, though.
Yeah, crucially, when Baby went to go put this ward that Karsa is now clearing, he didn't go all the way to the camp and steal away some of the small Raptors like we usually see. And that just means that Karsa goes unpunished, getting a little bit ahead still in this jungle route. Down bottom, though, looks like Athena going for his first attempt here.
Well, that could be a cheeky Q right here.
Yeah.
He's going to walk right into NL. He's going to hit the damage, but Devour's going to keep him safe. Nice flash to get away from the headbutt and a pulverize afterwards. Well done.
I really want to see the evolution there. Honestly, a more experienced support, and this is nitpicking, obviously, would have put him into the wall stun, and then Q flashed off to the flash there, and that could have guaranteed more damage onto Sword Art. Probably wouldn't have killed him, though, so the Flash Force is a good result here, but you could see newer players in Alistar will always go for the full combo.
I definitely agree when that, you know, the flash on Tahm Kench is incredibly important for that lane. If they stay pushed up and the melees are trading continuously, then Sword Art could be a target early on.
Well, something to watch for, but right now we're just seeing the lanes play out pretty much as expected and pretty easy, pretty fair. You've got at most a 4 minion difference in any one of the 5 roles right here, but a trade from MMD into Amazing Jay gets him down to 300 health. That's a good trade by MMD.
Yeah, MMD keeping control on the lane. The only lane that is kind of playing out counter to expectations is honestly that Malzahar being, albeit even slightly ahead in CS here, because Baimi did not even consider roaming here. With the push he can procure in the mid lane, he can definitely start influencing these side lanes, but he stayed put, didn't even get too deep vision.
Yeah, not playing the Aurelion Soul as aggressively as we've seen quite a few other mid laners during the tournament take it. Not going for the extra camps or early roams, and that's great for Maple. I mean, Maple, as we talk about Karsa being one of the stars, he is the other one that you always mention right in combination with Karsa. And we'll see what he does, because Malzahar now level 6, that's where the threat comes from. He's got double summoners, does have the ultimate, and can make a huge impact play.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the sort of early pressing, the early pushing power. A lot of that was Karsa playing really well. He put early smites in the Raptor camp, got rid of some of those deep wards that could have helped track him, and it just made Baimi's life a little bit more difficult.
In addition to that, we have almost never seen a Malzahar with an early CS lead, and Maple is doing just that. He did just back, so it's very, very small, but usually we see a lot of people missing the early CS on Malzahar and then complaining about those early bounces.
Unlucky bounces.
Yeah, exactly. But no excuses from Maple, and he's right there.
Yeah, pretty decent trade on there into Sword Art, but of course with the flashless Tahm Kench, he was potentially under threat, but there's no Lee Sin to follow up, was on a ward not long ago anyway, and it just means damage in a Sword Art, all well and done. Last chapter in for Maple, and we'll see him keep pushing.
2 CS!
Yeah, and now the synergy gets tested between the 2 mid laners here. Instead of fighting to replace each other, they actually have to help each other in game. A little bit different mechanic here. But they roam together to get some vision here. Bamey's still pushing in. And they're definitely starting to lean on this bottom side of the map. NL and Sword are definitely playing passive in the lane because of no flash, which means that Tina and Bamey here in the mid lane, they can roam down and put some vision.
Yeah, the same is true here. When the vision is there and Aurelion Sol clears the wave first, you have to respect it. We've seen so many teams be punished by those early roams, but look at that. Karsa wastes no time, gets right in there and clears out all the vision.
And he's actually able to get behind this Aurelion Sol, but you're seeing that Bamey is playing this lane incredibly smart. He's finding ways to always know where Elise is. Any mid laner who wants to learn how to play at a high level, understanding which side of the lane to stand on so that you are across the lane from the enemy jungler is a very big deal. No matter how much Karsa's in the fog of war, Bamey is figuring out which side of the map Karsa's on, so he's never getting cocooned from the fog.
Yeah, I always want to lean away from the jungler, but Riven Control seems to be quite contested here, and that's honestly the first step in pro play that comes before successful ganks here. Pink Ward's continuously being challenged. We see right now the Alistar clearing out the Pink Ward that was in River. There's a good Pink Ward in the top lane near Amazing J2, so there's roaming potential definitely for Bamey available.
The other thing is I want to check back in on the jungler matchup because Karsa does have the majority of this Flash Wolves gold lead. It is not a huge gold lead, but he does have the extra step here on Athena, and we'll see if he can make it actually convert because no real pressure early from the Elise, whereas there was the single summoner burns, didn't come of anything, but we haven't seen Karsa go for any early moves, and they've been very content actually to just go fight those vision wars rather than go for that big play on an Aurelion Sol.
Which, to be fair, based on how week one went, Aimee going equal in the early game is great.
Yeah.
There's a, I forget the website, I'm sorry for the guy who runs it and the group that does, but there's a site that tracks gold leads and says if you have 52% of the gold, you count as a gold lead. And Aimee has a 0% of the time they're up 2% of the gold. The entire tournament.
No significant leads is how they refer to them. Right now we see an invade here, though. Maple and Karsa teaming up again. Red buff's down.
Yeah, nice attempt on the steal. Not going to get it. It's a good smite away by Athena, but the challenge for the rest of the monsters is not going to do too terribly much. And these little stabs in aren't doing a ton.
I definitely agree. Aimee stylistically is a team that has to get it together in late game. They fall behind very often in the early game. Flash Wolves have shown in the tournament already that they're so good at getting early leads. The problem is they can't close. So for this match, it technically means Aimee is slightly favored.
Yeah, they've historically had better time getting the late games to happen, but anything we know can happen at this Worlds. You've got H2K going 4-0 in the last week from a 1-2 start in the record. You've got, teams like Alice Nox Luna power ranked as maybe the worst team at Worlds getting into the quarterfinals, and Flash was winning a late game, absolutely possible.
With these constant fights over the vision in this red quadrant, I want to set the stage for the possibility of this fight around Dragon, because Flash Wolves have a lot of options, and Poppy is one of the teleport chambers from top lane that has a huge impact immediately when she joins a bottom lane fight. So MMD versus Amazing J is something we haven't really touched on, even though Amazing J has been the highlight player kind of for Aimee and something that they usually play a lot around. We even see when at Road their normal support is in, he roams up top extremely early on, but hasn't been the case. And I actually am just waiting for the first teleport down from those top laners because they're both holding onto the summoner spell.
Well, that's the thing. I think, you can generally play solo queue support reasonably well. We've all played online. You know how that works. You get that role sometimes, but
yeah, we have.
The more advanced plays, the more advanced plays, like roaming out of your lane at sort of arbitrary times and making these sort of significant moves happen, you're much less likely to learn that when you're a career jungler suddenly playing Alistar and hoping you get the top lane roams off at the right time.
And that's honestly how you beat novice supports here. Again, top lane will be trading, but I think Swordheart should start looking for rotations here. Just randomly move up top, with the Abyssal Void, surprise the enemy top laner, surprise the enemy mid laner, drag the Alistar in a game of chaos where he has to make more decisions other than which creep am I going to use for my relic stacks.
Exactly.
And look at this. Flash Wolves, they timed the Dragon here with the recall of Aurelion Sol. So they have mid lane pressure, extra champion on the map. There's no chance here. And a very smart play here from Flash Wolves to grab the early Ocean Drake.
Yeah, really honestly beautiful stuff. So a 300 gold lead and a sub 12-minute Ocean Drake, the best one to have early game. You get all those free stats for the laning phase. MMD is going to love that he suddenly just can't be killed by Amazing J. He can't be whittled down anymore.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the first fight to blow up here. Ocean has so many factories. Whoever makes the first real pick that can translate it into an objective here. But definitely props to Flash Wolves for keeping that mid matchup at least even. Bamey has not been giving any opportunity to roam and translate that into a dive like we've seen so many Aurelion Souls or Syndras do in this tournament.
Also, look at Maple, you know, really early Sork shoes here in the mid lane. Before most people have bought magic resistance, yes, the Aurelion Soul does, but if that fight breaks out, you know, and there are people from other lanes around, that Malzahar ultimate, huge impact early on in the game. Nobody is even close to QSS's, so use that full power.
Exactly. You saw a second ago Athena get chunked to half by like Karsa's basic human form combo, not even with the Venomous Bite at the end of it. So you can easily see this Lee Sin getting one shot in the wrong team fight. He's gone Warrior Enchant, the tanky stats are coming later. And yeah, I think Flashless have a ton of burst at their fingertips.
Yeah, definitely hitting some mid-game spice here as well. The Jhin just filling up with a bunch of daggers here, armor penetration. There's a roam down bot here from Elise, and uncharacteristically, Malzar's also following.
Yeah, Maple's coming too. This is a 4v2 under the turret. Avoidless blocking the shots right now, and he's going to tank the four of them, waiting and waiting and waiting, and they're not going to really pull the trigger metaphorically in terms of going under the dive, and it's going to be fine.
Honestly, that was just funny to watch. Look like Jin, Zhao, and Avoidless were almost trying to dodge each other, constantly switching instead of just standing still there to completely block the line, but he gets everyone, no damage done. The roam is foiled, and a return to mid lane there for Maple.
And you can see now the reward of this Ocean Drake. MMD already was trading very well, but he's going to have so much mana now on the return of this fight. Amazing J's ulti is still down, so if he wants to get back to lane, he's got to burn teleport if he wants to do it fast at all, and MMD gets a lot of lane pressure.
And Karsa right now is aggressively contesting Lee Sin in his jungle.
And very nice. Once again, he's in there. He's wearing the Raptor buff as well, so he knows he's not been spotted by any wards. He knows he's in fog, coming back down to the bottom lane, looking for a repeat showing. Malzahar now joining as well. Maple coming down.
Minion wave is gone, though.
Will they answer?
Amazing
very
J will
early.
answer teleport. Cancelled. And Amazing J does too.
Flash shows with the right ideas in terms of roams, but they're not timing it right with the minion waves. Twice right now they have arrived, but the enemy minions have been destroyed already, so it's very hard for them to get access to that turret.
One of the problems is it's BF Sword Sivir. She clears these things so quickly, you have very limited windows to actually make these dives happen, and they haven't yet.
But you need to use the threat of the dive to kind of say, Sivir, you can't even get access to these waves. Please step away. And kill pressure is very important. That's why the timing is necessary for Flash. However, equal TP trade is really good for Aimee because Poppy has a much better teleporter.
Athena smites early. Karsa gets it with the second smite, and that is a red buff steal finally to Flash Wolves. The first kind of major objective actually handed over. Of course, Flash Wolves secured an Ocean Drake a little while ago. Now their first buff steal of the game. They are small, but they are tangible leads that the LMS squad is getting.
Yeah, I mean, the veteran jungler there does land the smite. That is one of the most difficult skills for the junglers to hone and takes the longest. If we revisit the bottom lane, though, Flash Wolves, there's a reason they keep going down there. Yes, they have the shove. They also have Elise and Tahm Kench, two of the best champions for pulling off these tower dives because of the Devour, because of the Repel, yet they are, being very cautious. They don't want to mess up one of these dives. And look, it's attempt number, 4 down here for the double roam as Malzahar is coming as well.
And once again, they're going to land the root in a cocoon. Quick ulti in by Avoidless, trying to tank up all the damage, slowly getting burned down. Ignite is on, and it's just not enough damage they can deal. Ooh, okay, yeah, he's fine. And Avoidless links away with enough HP to survive.
And honestly, so many people right now, you can feel the hesitancy in this game. Both these teams obviously are 1 and 2 in their group. Whoever wins ties with the remaining teams. Definitely want to stay in race for seconds. And I think the fear of falling behind all the way up to 1 and 3 is definitely playing in these teams' mind, especially Aimee. Their composition, their roster router got thrown all over here.
I definitely do have a lot of faith in the Flash Wolves, actually, as funny as it sounds, if we go later into the game, because Lee Sin, not only is this guy playing an off role, but Lee Sin's a very, never mind. We got action.
It's a flight. They're going to try to land the Q as well. He's going to flash away, kick into the Q. Good execution. It's just that as Athena takes down first blood.
I was going to say, Lee Sin, he always gets first blood. Honestly, though, Lee Sin, it is a difficult champion to play in the later stages of the game, is what I was going to go for. But that's going to help him out a lot. Athena now with the first blood confidence. Let's see him build full damage.
Yeah, go full banish, because Lee Sin is just a high-impact champion. You need to wait for the right moment, but at any given moment, even in the late game, one kick can win you that game.
All right, let's take let's take another, because the silence there and enables him to go a little bit aggressive, but the vision wars that we've seen go back and forth didn't catch a double roam.
The best part of that play was Baimi sending his AoE Q through the Malzahar, which popped the passive, but he let it protrude far enough to wait for the internal passive cooldown and then pumped it behind him. You can do the same thing with a Nivea Q against the Malzahar if you time it really well. And that actually meant that Maple already got stunned when he expected to not get stunned at all.
And that's one of those things that was opened up by the nerf to the Malzahar passive, where it used to stay on for too long to be able to do that. It's definitely something that changed the matchup due to that recent nerf to the power. Well, fairly recent.
And I got to give props to Athena as well for playing that matchup really well. Jumped in, waited on his Q until after the kick, and I believe he even had to land the Sonic Wave into Fog of War. Had enough Lee Sin games to be able to R into Q, which we've seen so many players miss in this tournament.
Yeah,
once again,
number 6, Kobe.
Looking for the damage, but Athena is here to maybe make another big impact play. Headbutt Pulverize in onto NL, but not taking enough damage to be dropped out. Amazing this time does finish the teleport, but Baby actually caught out with MOD behind him. A low HP Aurelion Soul. Amazing J lands this down to the front line. Now up to Karsa to chase down, and you're seeing pretty much Aime all routed off of the turret, the minion wave around, and this could be first turret for Flash Wolves.
Exactly. They've been whittling down this turret over and over and over. Now they have the health lead, but Aime's still standing tall here, going for the defense.
All 10 players looking for the next move in. Amazing J, gonna look for the backline, not gonna land the stun until just now. And here comes the dive. Avoidless running it out, but Baby gets the kill first. Amazing J staying alive. MMD gets a trade kill onto Avoidless. Alistar does go down. That is a 1-for-1 depth of support versus depth of mid laner. But again, the wave is here and Flash Wolves feel pretty good. One more auto will do it, and they do get the first turret. Able to slink away as well, and look at that advantage. Flash Wolves up 1,000 gold.
Very close, and in the end, Flash Wolves' patience pays off. They slowly whittle away at this turret, and that's the big takeaway, though. The first turret gold does go over to Flash Wolves, and now they have their first really sizable lead.
Yeah, they had a good hop over the wall from Amazing J, but he doesn't get the double sum because he jumps out of the dome here, giving counter damage possibilities here. It was a late devour from Solar 2, but still, on the back end of that trade, MMD was zoning so much in the front, and his base damages are still so relevant in the game right now. They can just trade kills here, and then obviously that tower was already so low. IM needed to pull the trigger and really get a big 2- or 3-man stun with that dome from Echo, but it just wasn't possible.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people always point to the communication of Aime, because Avoidless actually almost saved that with the Alistar, but if Amazing J and Avoidless go at the same time, you can set it up so that you guarantee land the parallel convergence. One of the reasons why we always talk about Echo and the viability for late game team fights depending on the player and how well you can work with the team is that he can have a huge impact if you're able to layer those. They're not quite able to do so though, and it does result in not one, but it looks like 2 objectives maybe going here to Flash Wolves.
Now off the reset, they grab themselves the Mount Ring. That'll be wonderful later on in this game here. 20 minutes, they're gonna land the root onto a Voidless. And here comes a whole lot of burst damage. The Cow's running down, about to be ground up. They've got to block the shots, and Jin Zhao will do so for his lane mate. Oh, the stun! Actually gonna stop the ulti coming out of Malzahar. But they're gonna get the silence on a Baby. The root not gonna land. Deadly Flourish gonna get juked out. A great kickback by Athena, buys some time. Karsa still wants to chase, but he's not gonna find his prey.
Yeah, really good jukes there from Baby, sidestepping 2 abilities at once, otherwise he would have died here. Lost duel over the red buff. It does seem like Flash Wolves is continuously pressuring forward, always having vision in that red side area, pushing the bot lane tower, contesting the dragon, eventually taking it once people have based off. So they have 1,000 gold in the lead, but they definitely have more map control than the gold lead indicates.
Yeah, they really do. There's more to this game than just the champion kills and the gold score at the top. They are playing this game a little bit better. They are the one in control, and Flash Wolves being able to control a game without the substantial, just outright power lead of having more gold and levels in your champions does speak well to their chances of doing well at Worlds.
Yeah, in the wake of that invade, they left perfect triangle vision right now in the enemy jungle that Aime is trying to contest, but they can't sweep everything. Voidless got 2 wards out of the 3, but there's still 1 left here, and it gives just a little bit of information if somebody passes by the Crux. It's not perfect, but it does help you to build. If you spot anybody on the right side, you just have an idea of how easy or how hard it is to contest, and Karsa, he's getting Scuttle Crab after Scuttle Crab, both sides of the map.
Definitely true. Flash Wolves have had the pressure, the map pressure for almost the entire game, but as we keep saying, Aime have had pretty atrocious early games thus far, and being this close, plus having the Sivir scaling up, doesn't feel too bad for them. So, they still have the possibility to try and take one of those mid-game team fights. Aurelion Soul and Echo zoning for the Sivir might be able to pull one of those through.
Quite surprising that both AD carries actually returned to the bottom lane, where at least the turret has died. You would expect Tom Kench and Jin to maybe rotate to the top, surprise somebody with an Abyssal Voyage.
Yeah.
Flash Wolves kind of making that decision a little bit later. They're swapping up the lanes right now because they're targeting the next objective. You want your dual lane around the tier 1 tower that you can contest, and you just put your tank with teleport in the long lane.
And what becomes really important is that defensive vision so that you can go clean up the waves there with the Sivir. One of the best champions there for instantly clearing out that wave, but then rotating back to the rest of the team.
Right, it's always very interesting because Jin Zhao typically is very safe up until this point where he's clearing on his own side of the map. You shouldn't typically be able to dive him, and sometimes you can prey on those tendencies where he is left alone. Of course, the Voidless, yes, is here. The other interesting point, though, is NL is not as good as killing turrets as Jin Zhao is. Jin much worse than a Sivir, and you've got, despite IMA losing their bottom lane turret, are ready to push down that bottom lane tier 1 themselves, but you're seeing Flash Wolves are faster on the play. They will knock this one down first. I expect it to be a trade of 1 turret for 1 turret.
Yeah, exactly. And we're past the point of the first turret gold, so whoever gets it a couple seconds first doesn't really matter, and this is a very even trade.
Now it's MMD really trying to take the fight, but it is a 1v2. Can't get that much done, but actually, how about an uneven trade? Look at the amount of pressure these guys have on Flash Wolves. We don't see this kind of trade that often, but well done to pull the trigger on top lane and not shy away.
And the experience for Flash Wolves shining through here. They realize that they have 3 members on the push, as opposed to Lee Sin that peeled off and went back to his own jungle right now. Athena not familiar with mid-game jungle pathing here. It's not about the camps, but it's in which lane you assist and what you do. Right now, pressure.
A lot of pings going down from Mazel. They want to keep up the chase.
Amy wants in. Can he land a good stun? Voice of Light into the Devour. Swordart going to run out of health pretty soon. Can he pop the Grayskin? Yes. Now pushes out NL. Shielding for as long as he can, but here comes the re-engage. The battle is on. Swordart running out of health. One more hit will kill him. And Amazing J gets the first one. Ults back in. Gets some damage on an MMD. And still the stars coming out from Baby. Just the 1 for 0 so far, but looks like Flash will still want in. Jin Zhao running out of health, and Maple picks up that one. Karsa still slinging around, dodging away from these stars best that he can. Another deadly flourish comes around. MMD just invincible on the front line. Cocoon not gonna land from Karsa, but he still wants the chase. Can they find one more? Flash was looking for it, but Amazing J is back in and living up to his name, getting himself that kill. Ooh, nice steadfast presence, gets the headbutt away from him, but overall that is still a very nice fight. I may up 2-1 in that.
Very nice. Yeah, that fight had a lot of layers. That was our onion fight for this game. That was actually crazy how much work MMD was able to do. Also, Athena had kicked Maple out of the entire fight over the wall there. Quite a few back and forth moves, but in the end, Karsa flashes forward to get that cocoon and misses.
Yeah, so a couple of misplays, but it showed quite a few cool interactions that happened in League. Right now we see the defensive from Flash Wolves. It all started, honestly, with Swordart reading the play very well. He turned around and spit his AD carry out the right way, which actually was counterintuitive, very much so. And then there was a kick buffer into the ultimate. We'll see it later. So this is where it all starts. Eventually you need to track Swordart and what he does, and then later in the fight, keep in mind of how the Lee Sin kick actually interrupts the Malzahar ulti.
Exactly. Baby there was trying to zone and cut off the escape. Swordart did the right thing to get him out.
Oh, we're fighting again! Fighting again. Double stun onto the tanks of Flash Wolves. A lot of synchronicity here on the caster desk, but turns into much of nothing.
Our powers combined, Crepo.
We are League of Legends casters. I guess you guys are.
We got juked by the observers.
All right, well, nobody died in that fight, so we'll have to revisit the mid turret because it's almost about to go down.
Exactly. Flash Wolves visit, and they're going to huff and puff and blow that tower down. 4-1 now in turrets. Sizable lead now for Flash Wolves, 2,000 up. Their visitations are going well.
It does seem that I may know how to fight and turn around in clutch moments. Amazing J came out with a good turnaround right there. They're not afraid to pull the trigger. There was a good kick from Athena, but their setup seems seriously lacking, especially when you consider that support pathing and setting up vision is usually step 1 in deciding what objective you're going to contest, and it actually is a very invisible foundation, despite it being
ironically,
ironically based around vision. And playing with an amateur support could definitely influence your macro game. So they just want to fight.
Looking for the 5-on-5. It's going to be a quick Drake pickup though, and the battle has once again resumed. MMD in the front line, headbutted back, but there's a lot of damage on Amazing J, who's forced to chrono shift out, trying to stay alive. He'll be okay for now, but now Athena has to run back, jumps to his teammate, safeguards away. Flash Wolves just keep racking up objectives.
Slowly but surely, Flash Wolves stacking up turrets, stacking up Drakes, and they're building up to, again, an extra big lead for that late game. But last time they weren't able to finish it. When it came down to it, you know, the Baron dance in the last moments, that's really what all matters.
But they seem quite comfortable right now because they can just let IMA come to them. I may have shown that they have very little setup in this game in terms of what they want to do. They're playing extremely reactive, and everything results in a fight. And FLICKR's composition is actually catered quite well towards punishing teams that run at you that just want to fight. With CNL constantly playing in the backline. He's done the same before on Champions League, Jinx in the past as well. So using that Jhin to open up early.
Definitely deserving of that first round pick for the Jhin for Flash Wolves. Let's see though if the Infinity Edge now completed for Sivir is a pretty big spike, honestly. I've seen a lot of the AD carries going for that, 2-item full attack damage start. And I know you're shaking your head there, Freak, as you are a big fan of the Zeo items. But it does provide, that big auto attack reset damage, the big damage as well from the Boomerang.
Yeah, it's a ton of raw AD, and specifically your Q will do a lot of damage, but considering that everything else can crit and attack speed is still a scalar, and you're missing out on some of the cooldown reduction you would actually get from getting more crit chance right now,
It basically means that Jin Zhao has to land a kill or significant damage on his first Q and next 3 W autos, because with the ultimate, they obviously shoot out much quicker with the attack speed increase on that ricochet. But after that, obviously, you lose the scaling power of an attack speed build.
And the ultimate is key, because it's all about, who can get there first for Aimee, right? If they have the speed, Lee Sin shines there, Alistar shines there. It's Aimee that are the ones that need to, have the initiative in the fight. In order to do that, the Sivir could enable, along with the Aurelion Soul roaming.
And we'll see how much more of this pressure and roaming and engage can happen in this game, as Flash Wolves have been the ones to generally hold the vision game here. Mountain Drake be the next one up. Double Mountain will be on eventually. That'll be the 4th and final Elemental Drake of this game. And Flash Wolves setting up now for the Baron 28 minutes in. And they don't kill it the fastest, but they've got minions to make it safe.
Oh, but they have the both Elise Balzar combo, which means you have an incredibly safe, tanky Baron, just as you said, because you spawn 4 Spiderlings, you spawn a bunch of Voidlings right there. You can tank that forever, 2-man. You definitely can see that Flash Wolves know what they're doing. Their vision indicates what objective they're targeting, as opposed to Aimee, who almost have no vision at all. Karsa, luckily, Spiderling saves him.
Whoa! Way too much damage. Athena gonna lose a lot of his health, but does get away with the safeguard. He's gonna be fine on this one, but it does mean some time. Maybe back in the fountain to heal up.
Aimee right now being choked out of vision. There's always mid lane, top lane priority in terms of pushing.
They do have the crucial Scuttle Crab, though, and on top of that, the wards behind Baron are very important, because when you see a team with an Elise, yeah, these wards right here, definitely worth mounting over for Aimee, because Elise Tahm Kench can pull off very sneaky Barons. If you Tahm Kench ultimate inside with Malzahar, those 3 can sneak it. And we've seen Barons be taken, without... Oh, actually, it's...
The 2-man that Carpo mentioned a second ago, they've got tons of minions. We already knew that Flash was controlled all of the vision. And how afraid are you as Athena, knowing that if you face check a Malzahar, you just die? The damage still coming through the teleport to help make sure Athena's now in range. Maple's got to keep Maple. Ulti is in, but they don't have the damage to kill him during the suppression. He's going to be able to steal. They want to try it. Maple running out of health. 1,400 on the Baron. They're not finishing it just yet. Who's going to get the smite? It's not dying just yet. And it goes over to Amazing Jay. A whitewashes Aimee. Already up 2-1 in this fight, plus the Baron looking for a bit more. Athena flashing to stay alive, and a catastrophe for Flash Wolves as they're losing more of their team. MMD gonna lose his Guardian Angel, and we assume his life afterwards. He's running for dear life with 600 HP. The stun's gonna land for Amazing Jay. This is a catastrophe. They're still gonna keep him alive. NL just comes into fight, losing his life anyway. MMD, Guardian Angel down, his life also. That is long-term 4-1, plus a Baron for Aimee off a catastrophic stop from Flash Wolves.
Oh no, it feels so bad in almost every Flash Wolves game to say, yeah, look at all these objectives they're stacking up, but all that matters is the fight around Baron. Yet, you have to say it every time, because, oh man. And again, that was a good idea, right, to try and sneak it. We kept setting up the sneak Baron for them. It's just that Aimee were able to smell it out there and come in. They take down Karsa.
It was a risky call, and if it works, we call them, honestly, heroes and really smart players. But at the right moment, Lee Sin stepped forward. There was a little bit of lacking of deep vision on the left side. You can watch the minimap right now. Just look at the Lee Sin actually crafting in. The immediate Poppy teleport comes out. Maple wants to pop the Banshees and then get the ulti off, but Athena gets close enough. And right now, they're behind the Baron. The spikes are doing damage too. And Karsa drops so low. So eventually, Karsa's going to smite, I think, because he panics because he drops so low.
It regens right there.
Yeah, and then actually the Echo is the one that takes him down in the end.
Yeah, it was also spited by Athena, but the last auto attack was the one that got him from Amazing Jay.
Man, and then Athena's able to dodge out and survive at the end.
Whew. Yeah, honestly, I think that the only criticism you can have for Flash here is that NL and Swordart were overplaying their aggressive zoning and didn't drop back into the Baron area slightly earlier. Because if you start a 2-man, you should always finish it a 5-man, peel back in and then let your support take care of the enemy jungle. But they were so aggressively acting as if nothing was happening in the mid lane that Lee Sin snuck by.
Exactly. I mean, how much can you criticize them for not getting complete vision through the blue quadrant? So many things were going well for them. Yeah. They had pressure in mid lane. We saw it was Jin Zhao under fire. Oh, yeah. Here we go, though. They're initiating.
They were playing for everything. MMD into the backline trying to start this fight, but of course it is Baron on several members of IMA, but Flashers don't want to lose their turret. Onto Amazing J. He's going to survive it all. Baimi quite low, but the re-engage on Mabel. The kick is beautiful, but not enough damage to kill anyone off. Only the 2-man. Flourish tanked up by Athena and IMA are running out of health bars, running for their lives, just barely slinking away with this one. Mountain Drake is alive, and Flashers have more health. They survive it, and they should have objective control, but first, Amazing J ults back in to control the map, and this might be enough to keep Flashers from going for more. Athena also fairly durable here. And they're going to pretty much trade equally as far as control.
Yeah, I may definitely want to stop that 4th dragon from going towards the Flashers here, because then Elder is a big boom for them. Amazing J is aggressively dying into the fights here, getting pretty tanky. So Maple's doing his best to stop him as early on with the Malzahar ultimate. It never leads to a kill, but it's good enough to kind of get him out of the fight here. Mid lane turret finally falls down now. IMA looking to get more off this Baron.
It's now a 2,000 gold lead for IMA. They went up 3 kills in the team fight. They got several turrets now afterwards, of course, as well. Plus the 1,500 gold from Baron. You're seeing that's a 4,000 gold Baron power play. That's completely reversed the gold that there was before. Now, again, because of the heroics of Amazing J, they prevented the Dragon take. They got their own as the rest of the team reset, tying up the Mountain Drake score. And now going into the 34th minute, IMA looking really good.
In terms of punish on the Baron mistake, Flashers is relatively happy. They only lose a tier 1, and the Baron buff expires while both side lanes are pushing in for them. So Flashers right now can regain control. Look at both sideways. Massive wave top lane. There was a wave on the bot lane that has been dealt with. So Flashers immediate reaction here.
That being said, I may come in, stop the push mid, and there's a large chunk of gold. All that I may have to do right now is reset, and it's going to be difficult for Flash Wolves to really force something unless they catch someone in the jungle farming here. Even so, Athena has a Banshee's Veil, and he's Lee Sin.
Oh, beautiful by MMD. Athena's going to have to flash out of this one or get some teammates, but the silence comes in time. Into the knockup, into all the damage. They need one to pick up there by Flash Rolls, getting rid of the IMA jungler. Now it's Amazing J running, but burning down to Malefic Visions, staying alive.
The Prophet, Kobe!
Sorry, Athena. I'm sorry. But man, that was all credit to MMD right there. They got the Banshee's Veil off, and then Lee Sin escape, very predictable right there. Gets off the interrupt, and that's going to be that kill that they wanted. That play right there literally just stopped the reset from Flash Wolves and allows, or it stopped the reset from IMA and allows Flash Wolves a little bit of extra pressure here, but I don't know if they want to go for this dive. 15 seconds left on Lee Sin.
Yeah.
Has to be a flash into the Arena and Soul, honestly, into the wall. The Alistar counter engagement.
Super risky.
There's no minion wave until they actually reach the turret anyway, and you're going to see MMD stunned up. Athena up in 3 seconds now as the minion wave just now reaching, so Lee Sin essentially joins this fight on time. Nice spell shield from Jin Zhao, still gets rooted up, looking for the forward motion. Amazing J takes the ulti, no big deal there. MMD, of course, invincible on the front lines, able to split back out by the Devour of Sword Art. And now you've got the Lee Sin rejoining the team. It's a 5-on-5, a nice tackle to get away from the stun, but it's still a take on the Karsa, who's devoured by Sword Art. Voice of Light flashed away, but that's going to be a Q landing. Exhausted with Athena, keeps Maple alive, but it's not enough damage. He once again bites off more than he can chew, and that is Athena dead again. MMD onto the back line, but can't quite kill Jin Zhao, now being chased by Baimi. Amazing J taking up what shots he can and force the Guardian Angel out of MMD. A Voidless out of health, and now for the re-engage as MMD respawns on this Poppy, running out of health. That's the Deadly Flourish, popping the Guardian Angel. Amazing J, yes, in time so that he cannot stun the rest of Flashers, but it's now Jin Zhao on the chase. The Ricochet bounces, almost lands it, but it's now Baimi driving through, hoping to get the damage. NL could be the last one alive, running for dear life. It's a double kill in for Baimi. Deadly Flourish can't quite trade one back, but it is a good fight for IMA. 12-5.
Oh, another extremely long team fight there. Starts out with the difficult late game Lee Sin team fighting we talked about, and kicks away the Malzahar, but the cleanup there with the Sivir now with the 3-item spike, also has QSS on top of it, and Jin Zhao is able to keep up the chase in the extremely long team fight.
Yeah, elongated fights here. Jinzhao sweeps at the end here. MVP early on was Sword Art, who's definitely tracking throughout this fight. He had a couple of really sweet devours here. There's the immediate reaction from Maple.
Right there.
That's done. That's the first devour. The second cocoon that's gonna miss right now is actually not a big miss because it's actually an E predict. Echo is expected to dash forward here, so that's what Garza's trying to block right here. There's another devour coming out pretty soon from Sword. The flash from Maple. I think he kicks at the end of the exhaust period as well, not killing Maple. So there's all these small things that are going wrong for Aime.
Baron rush, and it's going to be secured. Nicely done. 2 Barons in a row now for Aime. Right off the reset. Well played. They had more members alive. Flashes could not join in time. Good shot calling.
Definitely true. Let's see what Aime can do with it. They've got so much pressure. Only the 2 secondary turrets still standing here for Flash Wolves, and both of them are beaten up. It looks like an easy cleanup here for Aime to go clean up that extra gold.
And their late game scaling is definitely there. Aurelion Sol is such a nuisance. They have 2 big nuisances in this fight here. Echo and the Aurelion Sol are so annoying to play against.
And when you have a Sivir endgame hypercarry, the more nuisances you have on your team for your term there, the better. Because Aurelion Sol can create so much space for Sivir to get off all of that late game damage.
And Jin Zhao specifically on this Sivir is going for a very aggressive build. No lifesteal, just relying on Quicksilver Sash, but instead the Lord Dominus regards for the Armor Pen to cut through these tanks. This super annoying the Poppy, the super annoying Tahm Kench. And Jin Zhao's so good mechanically, we expect him to continue playing at a super high level and carrying these team fights in. Another rev up taken by Athena, stealing it away from Flash Wolves.
Yeah, I may pushing in here. If we track the timers, there's 2 minutes 20 left on that Nashor buff, but Elder already spawns in 1 minute 10 seconds. Flash Wolves got 3 dragons early on, but if Aime can block the Elder during that time, the late game insurance of all those early dragon takes is actually going to be denied.
Scary things afoot here, and I gotta say, this game feels heartbreaking for Flash Wolves fans to have a game that looked controlled, that looked so good for so long. The Baron sneak seemed like a good play, gets turned around, and now Aime pedal to the metal, foot in the gas. Look at how many turrets have gotten in a row now, getting more and more out of this game, up 7,000 gold.
Those are the easy ones, though. The secondary turrets are pretty much standing gold there for Aime. The crucial point is when you can crack an inhibitor turret here. And Flash Wolves, they very much still have a chance. It's just that it's getting so much more difficult by the minute because Malzahar, he's built to melt the front line, right? And it's difficult for Flash Wolves to win a fight when you're trying to melt a front line and the enemy team has the late game Sivir and they have the Alistar coming in.
Yeah, I think champion scaling-wise, Aime are significantly ahead. It's going to require outplay from Flash Wolves, whether you completely crush Vision and get a proper Baron bait or a Dragon bait, or you get a pick-off by some heroics from NMD or Karsa or somebody, but that's what it's probably going to require.
Honestly, the one thing that speaks for Flash Wolves is that they have quite the ability to front-load a lot of damage here. If you combine some of their carries, they can blow up certain targets if they miss position. However, if I may take it slow, calm, and collected.
They're splitting. They still have Amazing J top trying to get the inhibitor turret.
And Athena's far away. This is a 5-on-3 without even a smite steal available for a few more seconds. Teleport's coming, but it's still a 5v4. This should be good enough for Flash Wolves to tackle onto a Voidless. Here comes a flank. Amazing J not going to land a stun, but it's already a kill onto Karsa. That is Flash Wolves Elise dead. MMD taking up what he can, but look at the damage up coming from Jin Zhao, cutting through this tank, and even Maple just going to run out of health. Amazing J gets the stun. A nice devour by Sword Art, but it's probably not going to be enough as Baby is pretty much unstoppable here. A rampage, another kill for Jin Zhao, 16-5, a 4-for-0 team fight.
If you let a late game Echo get a flank off and get access to your backline, you are definitely toast, and that's exactly what happened there. Amazing J comes in, swoops the fight. Voidless was distracting with the combos, and while we were tracking the Echo, tracking the Alistar, Jin Zhao was untouched that fight.
Easy cleanup there for Jin Zhao, and that is going to be an easy inhibitor as well for Aime as they look to end the game off of it.
Looking for it right now. Death timer's long enough, 30 seconds on most of them. Nexus turret number 1. Aime looking to improve to 2-2 and be the 3rd Chinese team here from the LPL to make it into the quarterfinals. So far, so good. They start the day with the win. They've got 2 foes left, but right now they're 2-2.
And we saw teams like H2K fix their week 1 problems coming into week 2, but it is more of the same for Flash Wolves. They ramp up slowly, but they definitely ramp up, and then it all falls apart at a crucial moment in the late game.
There was a glimmer of hope at the end of week 1 for Flash Wolves, where it looked like they were pulling it together, but Aime once again exposed the same issues. Honestly, though, this time was even more heartbreaking to me because it was such an it seemed like such an intelligent setup, such an intelligent play. It's just that the extra maybe half step of a little bit deeper vision to see them coming to find your trap wasn't quite there. And even with that, it was a 200 health away from being in smite range for the Baron.
The thing is, I believe Flash Wolves saw it coming. You saw the teleport coming from MMD around the time Lee Sin was coming through. They said, okay, he's coming, but it's okay, we'll finish the Baron. The problem is, Malzahar ultimate will shut off all summoner spells. You cannot smite while he's hitting you with that Nether Grasp. But it also means all your Voidlings go after your Nether Grasp target. All of their damage disappeared when Baron was on 2,000 health steal. Still, Elise didn't have her cooldowns up. Okay, Lee Sin suppressed, but it's not in smite range anyway. It's actually too early of an ultimate for Maple. If they play it better just for those two, outside of strategically, just mechanically, that Baron is secured with no chance of a smite steal, and it looks entirely different. But Maple ults early, doesn't juggle the Voidlings properly. The rest of the team, yeah, probably should have joined a bit sooner as well. And as soon as though that gold lead was there for IMA, they wiped the game.
Yeah, the problem was still that their support and AD carry were stuck in the mid lane, aggressively trying to like block people from entering even closely to the Baron area, more so the river. But if their damage was there, because it was the right idea to keep the Lee Sin tangled up, you know, with the Nether Grasp outside of the Baron area, don't even give him vision on what's going on. Definitely get it. It's a clutch play. It failed, but it cost Flash Wolves the game.
I think what we need to do is celebrate IMA getting a victory with the sub coming in, double role swaps, and they find it in the late game. Honestly, well played there from IMA.
And of course, Rhodes' suspension will be up, so he'll be back in the roster. They will face SKT
if they play him
later in the day. Sure, of course, it's up to their choices, but either way, it is a great win for IMA. So now let's hand it over to our analysts for a look at that win.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. What a way to start the day. The sub and the role swap victory for IMA. Let's just approach that first. The fact that with the sub, they also go for a role swap and completely throw a curveball at Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and I think that you actually have to applaud this because what they do is they put the Koreans together in mid and jungle with two big playmakers, Lee Sin and the Aurelion Soul, which means that, you know, the communication lines are going to be nice and clean, and all of this follow-up, you know, the Breath of Light into the kick and all the things we saw throughout this game are made so much more simple because of the fact that they pair those duos together.
Yeah, I mean, you get hit with a 1-2 punch. What is Flash Wolves supposed to figure out from this composition? When you swap the roles, you have no idea. Your scouting previously has gone to waste, and the game just devolves into a very stale. You're waiting for something to happen, and Flash Wolves is continuously trying to pressure the bottom side. And while they were unable to really make something happen in the initial attempts, they were actually able to get the first turret. They were able to trade tier 2 and tier 1 topside for a tier 1, but after that, they just, I guess, forgot to do that.
I think Lecrit said it best in his interview. Like, if you don't know what the heck you're doing, no one's going to know what the heck you're doing. And when you're a Casa and you're like, I'm jungling against a mid laner, this guy is... He took blue on Lee Sin at level 2. Like, this guy is insane, and it just put them behind in the
But here's
game.
the thing. I mean, IMA can play whatever game they play. But coming into today, we had talked about Flash Wolves having a very solid early game. And even here, yes, it wasn't a poor early game, but we didn't see them create the kind of leads that we've gotten used to seeing out of this team, Clement.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the Flash Wolves composition was kind of, they kind of tunneled on a lot of things. They didn't really have a lot of sustained damage. I want to see them go for the Caitlyn and play around objectives, team fight better, but they didn't do that really well, and they went for a really risky play in the middle of the game where I felt like they didn't need to do that with such a huge lead. They pushed the vision, and they just keep sitting on Baron. I think that would have been enough, but they went in, and they just got stolen the Baron away. Again, this is like the third time we saw this already.
Now, before we get to that Baron play, I want to take a look and revisit the fight where IMA got into the mid game, brought to you by Acer. This came just a few minutes prior to the Baron stage.
Yeah, and let's have a look at this, because this stage, they've out-rotated them on the map. They've taken 2-for-1 turrets, but they stick around, they get greedy. And why are you fighting a team like IMA? This is what the team does the best.
You don't want to fight against a Chinese team in these conditions, especially when they're collapsing on you. But ultimately, Flash Wolves plays it really nicely. They get a little bit lucky with the kick, being able to dislodge the Malzahar ultimate. But if the skill shots had landed a little bit better, I actually think that Flash Wolves could have come out ahead, particularly as we see Karsa trying to flash in for a cocoon right here towards the end.
Yeah, but one more time, you know, things could have gone better, but this is where you just don't challenge the LPL teams. IMA, poor early game, poor macro focus, but can they brawl? Like, are they good individual one-on-one players? You better bet your dollar they are. And, you know, Flash Wolves, they do it one too many times in this game and really get made pay.
And now I want to push forward to that Baron Seal that you were talking about, Clement. Let's take a look. 30 minutes in here, Flashful's making a stab at taking the global objective, but IMA responding in kind, and they come away with it.
Yeah, this is actually a really smart steal. They have one Mountain Drake, so they're doing it pretty fast, but you can see here that Lee Sin comes in. This is actually triggered by the Jhin ultimate from mid lane. They know something's up here at the Baron pit, and actually Echo gets it. It wasn't even the smite. It was a little off from Karsa, and right here you see the Flash Wolves member get wiped. They have nowhere to go, and basically Sivir is just running them down right now. They should have just gone, let MMD just die there and just all back off, but they stay there. Jhin gets picked off in the end. They get 2 turrets off of it. In the end, I don't think that Flash Wolves necessarily would have lost from that fight, but the other fights really did them in.
So my problem with that play is that when you're making a sneak like that and you don't have vision of the opposing jungler, you're going to have to commit more than just, oh, it's a surprise Baron. They should have committed the teleport right around the time that you know that you're fully committing to taking that Baron. And the TP only comes after they see Lee Sin. Had that Poppy teleported sooner, you could have popped the Banshee out of the Lee Sin. You would have been able to ult him out right away. No chance of a steal. And like Krep had mentioned, the dual lane tunnel a little bit too much on focusing down that mid lane. You have Tahm Kench ult to get them out of there. You have the ability to collapse and help out and finish that Baron.
And we can really see how much Flash will struggle to create a lead there in that gold graph, right? Only extending over that 30 minutes, just a slight amount before it swings wildly in the other direction.
Yeah, 100%. But one more time, I just want to compliment IMA because this is a team that backs against the wall through everything they had. This was obviously something they had prepared for. And, you know, they get what they wanted for out of it. So now they're back in the running for this group.
Yep, amazing Jay picking up a player game this time around. Had some great flanks, some good map pressure around. But here's what I really want to approach. I mean, you see the scoreline there, 4-0-10. That's phenomenal. But what I really want to approach is you're coaching IMA. What do you do now after the success of this roster? Do you continue to play the same roster, or do you fall back onto what you came into the tournament with?
Anyone
who's got a thought?
I have a thought on that. This you play a roster all season with Road, and you've obviously got faith in the young man. He's a brilliant support. I think you bring him back in. I think it's worked against the team you wanted to work against, and now you go back to playing a little bit more standard, a little bit more of the IMA style League of Legends.
It's also kind of a trick up the hat that nobody's seen before. If you do it again, they'll kind of know what you're trying to do, especially as you mentioned with that mid lane synergy between the Koreans. That's going to be an obvious tell for other teams to look at and expect that mid lane pressure.
It's a situation where I think you'd have to call in the depth of their champion pools with that role swap, right? How many junglers can Athena really play outside of Lee Sin? So if I were going to attack that roster, I would just ban out the Lee Sin, and then all of a sudden the whole strategy could fall apart. So I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. You qualified for roles with that original squad. You keep pushing through it with that. Now when we return from the break, SKT and Cloud9 battle it out as they fight for the quarterfinals.
Lee Sin's a very... Oh, never mind. We got action. Flight. They're going to try to land the Q as well. He's going to flash away, kick into the Q. Good execution. It's just that as Athena takes down first blood. Maple's got to keep him out of the front. Ulti is in, but they don't have the damage to kill him during the suppression. He's going to be able to steal. They want to try it. Maple running out of health. 1400 on the bear. They're not finishing it just yet. Who's going to get the smite? It's not dying just yet. And it goes through amazing kick.
先排住，先排住，先排住，先排住。你可以帶住，我未攔，未 Q。
The rest of Flash, but it's now Jin Zhao on the chase. The ricochet bounces, almost lands it, but it's now Baby driving through, hoping to get the damage, and now could be the last one alive, running for dear life. IMA looking to improve to 2-2.